I want to bring in Democratic Congressman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was the head of the DNC when WikiLeaks published thousands of private emails related to the 2016 campaign. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Anna.
You ultimately resigned from the DNC because of the revelations in those emails. What is your reaction to this allegation in the indictment that a top Trump campaign official was directed to contact Roger Stone to get more information from WikiLeaks about these hacked emails?
Well, Anna, we've known for a long time now that it was very clear what the Trump campaign's intention was. They were infected with contact with Russia. They have had 6 or 7 indicted officials or people associated with them who pleaded guilty, all of whom were involved with contact with Russia somehow. And in this case, with Roger Stone, he literally weaponized information stolen by Vladimir Putin to help elect Donald Trump president. He worked with high-level campaign officials from the Trump campaign who were directed by someone even higher, essentially to make sure that they could traffic in information stolen by a foreign enemy state to elect the candidate that he supported president of the United States. And it was a disgusting and traitorous act, and it needs to be prosecuted. And as a member of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, I'm going to be working with Chairman Elijah Cummings to make sure that we can continue to fight to get the American people answers, including to make sure that we can protect the Mueller investigation till to its conclusion.
I want to ask you about that specifically in just a second, but just to go back over a couple things you mentioned there. 37 people or entities have been charged by Robert Mueller's special counsel team. 6 of them who have been indicted are associates, direct associates of the president, or knew him before he was president, and 199 criminal charges have been brought so far. I want to go back over some of the timeline here now that is spelled out in this indictment. We know June, July of 2016, Stone allegedly informed Trump campaign officials that WikiLeaks had the documents damaging to Clinton. And then it was July 22nd, WikiLeaks released that first batch of stolen emails. After that, prosecutors say a senior Trump campaign official was directed by someone to contact Stone about additional releases. And then on July 24th, the president's son, Don Jr., denies Russia is behind the hack and release of DNC emails. Here's that moment.
Robbie Mook, the campaign manager for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, I asked him about the DNC leak, and he suggested that experts are saying that Russians were behind both the leak, the hacking of the DNC emails and their release. He seemed to be suggesting that this is part of a plot to help Donald Trump and hurt Hillary Clinton.
It just goes to show you their exact moral compass. I mean, they'll say anything to be able to win this. I mean, this is time and time again, lie after lie. I can't think of bigger lies, but that exactly goes to show you what the DNC and what the Clinton camp will do. They will lie and do anything to win.
He slammed your DNC, calling you a bunch of liars who would do anything to win. Do you feel vindicated?
You know what? I feel vindicated on behalf of the American people who really were the victims here when it comes to Donald Trump, his campaign leadership team, and particularly Roger Stone in this instance, who knew in June, because the Democratic National Committee, we announced that we had had our information stolen by Russia prior to Roger Stone weaponizing the information that Russia stole in order to make sure that they could help elect Donald Trump president. All of the arrows point to the conclusion that any elementary school child could reach, and that is that Russia stole information, colluded with the Donald Trump campaign in order to help elect Donald Trump president. And the investigation that Mueller is doing is getting closer and closer to the highest level here. And at the end of the day, both Congress, through the Oversight Reform Committee, through Chairman Cummings, myself, and my colleagues, as well as the Mueller investigation, are going to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. And Roger Stone can pound his chest and use false bravado all he wants. One of the other things he loves to say is that the only thing worse than negative attention is no attention at all. Well, when he's in prison, we're going to see how much attention he's going to get. He'll be pretty depressed after that, I'm sure.
We're showing the images of him walking out of the courthouse yesterday, flashing that V for victory. I want you to hear what White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders had to say right after Stone's indictment.
Roger Stone, the president's longtime political advisor, placed under arrest. What's your reaction?
Look, my first reaction is real simple. This has nothing to do with the president and certainly nothing to do with the White House.
She says this has nothing to do with the president, and he is not personally named in these indictments. Do you agree this has nothing to do with him?
No, of course not. I think Sarah Sanders is both clueless and a liar. And so, that's the job description that she signed up for, and she willingly peddles in completely false information and will do anything to help her boss hold on to power. And her boss was willing to do anything to gain the power that he has now, including collude with Russia to be able to use stolen information to elect him president. And you know what? The cinch is getting tighter and tighter. We're going to reach the logical conclusion of this, and heads are going to continue to roll.
Well, I'd have to ask you about where we're headed with the government shutdown, because the president obviously announced this temporary deal to fund the government for the next 3 weeks. But that deal doesn't include any money for his border wall at this point. And the president is not giving up on that. Let's listen.
So let me be very clear. We really have no choice but to build a powerful wall or steel barrier. If we don't get a fair deal from Congress, the government will either shut down on February 15th again, or I will use the powers afforded to me under the laws and the Constitution of the United States to address this emergency.
Give me the over-under on whether we'll be back in a shutdown again in 3 weeks.
So that was the analogy I was going to use, too. I wouldn't take major odds in Las Vegas betting on President Trump's prediction. I chair the Appropriations Subcommittee on Military Construction and Veterans Affairs, and that's where a large chunk of that money that he would be stealing and to declare this a false emergency to build a wall that I think everyone knows by now is never going to get built, and that we need to work together over the next 3 weeks to come together in a bipartisan way, which was what we should have done 35 days ago when the original deal that passed yesterday was on the table, so that we can use a combination of focusing on comprehensive border security using technology, 21st century technology, instead of a 7th century solution, which is Donald Trump's proposed wall. And that's what I think the cooler heads that are going to come together as appropriators on the conference committee are going to do. And we'll send that to the president. And if he doesn't sign it, then he'll shut the government down once again, and he'll cause 800,000 people to suffer all over again. They still have not been paid. That might not happen until later this week, and he's caused major pain, all in the name of building an edifice that wouldn't solve the problems he says exist in the first place.
I spoke with a TSA worker who was told today, he says, that he'll get his paycheck on Thursday, so still several days until that comes. Congressman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, thank you for being with us.